I have no volume control in. Are we on back there, Jason? Little volume, please. Kelly, Susan has the mic. If you want to take it over from her, you can be the first to comment. You usually are. So, morning, Jason. Morning.
Make sure we're good on this end. I'm sure we are.
Well, it's plugged in and with the lights on. There's no volume control. Oh. There we go. Okay. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me okay? Welcome Ken and Carol back from fighting the Apaches. I see you both still have your hair, most of it. So glad to have you again. All right, so we worked our way up through through chapter 18. We'll recap chapter 18. We started last week with 13 and 14, where Job mounted his defense against God, who he regards as his adversary in this, as in a courtroom. He believes and knows that the only one who can bring about this kind of thing is God, and therefore he wants to challenge God to explain why he's doing this to them. In the meantime, his friends are maintaining, well, the reason that God is doing this to you is he's punishing you for some wickedness you've done that you haven't repented of. This they have maintained stoutly, and this is the main pillar of their argument. It's the only pillar of their argument. It reflects a worldview that they hold, that Job himself has held, because everybody held it. Punishment, ordeal, trial, suffering is the result of punishment. Punishment is the result of wickedness against God that is unrepented of, and therefore you have done something wicked that you've not repented of, something terribly wicked to bring about this kind of suffering, this series of ordeals that are unimaginable to be happening to one person in a single episode, so to speak. And so Job continues to maintain his integrity, his steadfastness, his innocence. He says, I am not a sinless man. Nobody's a sinless man, but I've done nothing to deserve this. And so through these great soaring passages of poetry, we have seen them over and over again try to persuade him. So much so that now they have become unwittingly the allies of his true adversary, who is Satan himself. They're making his ordeal harder. They don't mean to be doing that. His wife didn't mean to be doing that. But nonetheless, that is the result of their actions, and they're doing it with the best of intent, even though their language has gotten a bit out of hand. They're back and forth now calling each other windbags. Every time one of them jumps up for his term, you're a windbag. No, you're a windbag. The language has gotten sharper and more accusatory. As I said before, the gloves have been off for some time now. I mean, they are really swinging for the fences. They're going for the head. They're going for these body blows that will put each other down. Now, as we start into verse 18, we're entering a section now, chapter 18, excuse me. We're entering a section where Job is going to lay to rest. He's going to completely destroy their main premise. Again, I add a premise which he himself to this point has shared, that suffering is a result of punishment. Punishment is a result of evil. Evil is punished by God. So let's recap 18 quickly. Once again, Job says, shall windy words have an end? Verse 3, leave me alone, you windbag. I could also speak, that's 16, excuse me. Bildad the Shuhite is speaking. How long will you hunt for words? Consider, why are we counted as cattle? Why are we stupid in your sight? Now listen to what he says here about the wicked. Yea, the light of the wicked is put out. That's you, Job. The light is dark in his tent. That's you, Job. His strong steps are shortened. That's you, Job. For he is cast down into a net by his own feet. A trap seizes him by the heel. Verse 10, a rope is hid for him on the ground, a trap for him in the path. This is what is supposed to be the lot of the wicked for their wicked behavior. And in fact, it's what people want to happen to the wicked for their wicked behavior. I mean, this is because the just heart demands justice. And so the good man wants to see wickedness punished. And so all of this is what they suppose and what they are saying is the lot of the wicked. Verse 11, terrors frighten him on every side. 12, his strength is hunger bitten. 13, by disease his skin is consumed. Look at your skin, Job. You're filthy. You're disgusting, full of pussy, poxy marks and sores. 14, he's torn from the tent. 15, in his tent dwells that which is none of his, jackals, vipers, brigands and vagabonds. His roots dry up underneath. His memory perishes from the earth. He is thrust from light into darkness. He has no offspring or descendant. They of the west are appalled at his day, and horror seizes them of the east. Surely such are the dwellings of the ungodly. That's you, Job. This is why you're undergoing what you're undergoing. Such is the place of him who knows not God. That's a pretty harsh statement to say to Job, who they know has been a godly man his whole life. His whole reputation is based on that. It's known. But now, I mean, their blood is up. Job's blood is up. Everybody is throwing the hottest flaming darts that they can throw, throwing the heaviest punches that they can throw. Chapter 19. Now, when we get into verse 21, chapter 21, let's see, this goes, we have another, chapter 19 is Job, and then chapter 20 is Zophar the Naamathite, and then Job begins to destroy this position that they have held, his own position that he has held his whole life, because it was a common worldview, that this is the punishment is a result of wickedness. Wickedness is punished by God. And suffering, not just punishment, but suffering itself is punishment, okay? There is no suffering unless it's punishment from the divinity. So this is the worldview that is going to crumble shortly. Then Job answered, how long will you torment me and break me in pieces? This is chapter 19. And break me in pieces with words. These 10 times you have cast reproach upon me. Are you not ashamed to wrong me? Even if it be true that I have erred, my error remains with myself. This is not an admission that he's done. He said, even if it be true, this is a conditional statement. But even if it were true, that I have erred, my error remains with myself. It's something between me and God. It's certainly nothing that would bring about this calamity. If indeed you magnify yourselves against me and make my humiliation an argument against me, know then that God has put me in the wrong and closed his net about me. Behold, I cry out violence, but I am not answered. See, I'm like a man in the street who's being assaulted, and I cry out, murder, help, and no one comes. There's no one to protect me. He has walled up my ways so that I cannot pass, and he has set darkness upon my paths. He has stripped from me my glory and taken the crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone. And my hope has he pulled up like a tree. He has kindled his wrath against me and counts me as his adversary. What have I done? I've done nothing. Well, yes, you have. That would be happening to you if you had done nothing. When are you going to admit it? When are you going to confess? When are you going to repent? His troops come on together. They have cast up siege works against me and encamp round my tent. He has put my brethren far from me, and my acquaintances are wholly estranged from me. Now this is parallelism here, as we have throughout the book, Hebrew parallelism, which is that elegant form of poetry that is so attractive to in the Hebrew language. Shortly we'll find out about his actual brethren here. But he has put my brethren far from me, and my acquaintances are wholly estranged from me. See, this is the parallel there. Okay. And you are my acquaintances, you three here. My kinsfolk and my close friends have failed me. Everyone has failed me. The guests in my house have forgotten me. My maidservants count me as a stranger. Can you imagine, going to your home and no one knows you? No one recognizes you? What that would be like? I mean, we have seen the Twilight episode, have we not? Where, the guy's walking around in a town that he grew up in, seeing people and no one recognizes him. I have become an alien in their eyes. I call to my servant, but he gives me no answer. I have no respect. I must beseech him with my mouth. I am repulsive to my wife, loathsome to the sons of my own mother. These are his brothers, his actual familial brothers in his own family. And notice, in this story, none of them have come to him. Now, we don't actually know who came, if anyone, besides the three, Eliphaz and Bildad and Zophar. But they are not mentioned until this moment right here. Loathsome to the sons of my own mother, repulsive to my wife. Even young children despise me. When I rise, they talk against me. All my intimate friends abhor me. You abhor me, and those whom I have loved have turned against me. My bones cleave to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. You ever heard that phrase? This is where it comes from. So many of these phrases that we use every day come right out of this book here. Have pity on me. Have pity on me, O you, my friends, for the hand of God has touched me. Why do you, like God, pursue me? Why are you not satisfied with my flesh? Look what's become of me. Physically, I'm a wreck. Oh, that my words were written. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book. Oh, that with an iron pen and lead they were graven in the rock forever. Let's pause there for a minute. This bespeaks a technology that is unknown to us. Iron pen and lead. Is this some alloy? There's an alloy mentioned in the book of Ezekiel that involves iron and lead, I think, and copper and tin, maybe, I can't remember, being smelted together. Whether that is some actual technology that was being used, but this is not an alloy that's known. Some have speculated that the iron pen, of course, is a graver, as in the word engraving, a graver used to scribe into rocks, whether it be drawings or writing or whatever, and then the lead melted and poured into that, so that would have to be on a tablet, but no such technology is known. Another speculation that a piece of smelted lead, soft, you can mark with it, is used to mark out where the letters are going to be graven, and then the iron graver, the stylus, does the engraving. It's pure speculation. We don't know what this is. It's certainly not the lead of what we call a pencil, because it's not lead. That's graphite. I don't know whether it was ever lead when pencils were first invented, but in any case. Now, this next passage here. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at last he will stand upon the earth. Now, in my English Bible here, my translation, the editors have capitalized the word Redeemer, which is their way of saying that this refers to the divinity, to God himself. And that's the way we've always taken it, is it not? I know that my Redeemer lives in a... That's the pious way of looking at this, and it could be that. But the word behind this, goel, Hebrew word behind this, is can mean redeemer in many senses, redeeming from a pledge, not from sin, but just redeeming a pledge, redeeming a debt. but it can also mean avenging or vindicating. And the context indicates here, even though that, even in the following translation, where the Hebrew text is very difficult, it's problematic here, in the next few verses, they have done their best to reflect that he is referring to God, this word goel, which they translate as redeemer. This could just as easily have been translated as vindicator, or, in a more polemic sense, avenger. In 2 Samuel chapter 14, verse 11, this word is used in this construct. Let's see, how do I do this? Okay, this we pronounce Goel Dam, which means the avenger of blood or the vindicator of blood. That is one that was in the ancient Hebrew culture where where someone killed somebody and someone in that family would go after that person, go after them to kill them as vengeance. That was the Goel Dam, the avenger of blood, the vindicator of blood. That's still practiced in Arab society today. It's practiced among Arabs who live in Western countries, particularly with daughters who then are, for one reason or another, they're not adhering to the old ways. They've gotten involved with someone who is not an Arab. They've been betrothed to some cousin they've never met from the time that they were born. They're not interested in that. Now they're living in London or they're living in Stuttgart with families that have migrated there. But the parents, the family, the brothers, the mother, and the father are still thinking this way. And so if that daughter gets involved sexually and it's known, they will kill her if they can. And this happens all the time. These young women are found floating in canals, they're found in ditches with their throats cut, and very often it's known who did it, and those people are picked up and prosecuted. The brothers generally, or whoever did it, is. So this is still happening. It was active at that time. So this word that and from which we get that song, I know that my Redeemer lives, and it's inculcated, it's been infused into our thinking as a pious reference to God, could simply mean my vindicator. Because when you read on, for I know that my Redeemer, my vindicator lives, and at last he will stand upon the earth, and after my skin has thus been destroyed, after I'm dead, you see, and then from my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see on my side, because this vindicator, is the thinking, will defend me after I'm dead, after my murder has finally taken place, after all of these terrible effects on me have had their result and I have died. My vindicator will make my case for me, and I will be vindicated. That is the idea. My case will be established. I will be adjudicated to have been innocent. And that's the idea. The other way to understand that is the way it's been translated in my Bible, to refer to God. And then when you get to whom I shall see on my side, and then there was a lot of controversy about that, about whether after Job's death he would see God again, whether that's what the poet is actually maintaining here, where everywhere else when he refers to death, he's talking about descending into Sheol, from which there is no escape, because resurrection is not a concept that is known at this time, okay? That is not something that develops in Judaism until late, even though I say develops, but it was revealed, let me put it that way, because that was God's plan from the beginning, even though it was not known until later, okay? The idea of going into Sheol was a place of simply rest from the labors of life in a dim, dark place where there was no punishment and certainly no reward other than not having to suffer anymore, because you would not be suffering once you were in Sheol. Over and over again, we have seen that. So if, in fact, Job would be referring here to seeing God on the other side, that would be a departure from the poet's clear and the text's clear explanation of death as being a place where that doesn't happen. And that's only because they don't know yet, you see. I mean, it's not a theology that is anti-God or anti-resurrection. It's simply that no one knew about that yet. That's simply a fact. And once again, the clearest evidence of that, other than the plain statements that we have here, that by the time you get to Jesus, you still have a major sect of the Jews who do not believe in the resurrection of the body, the Sadducees, you see. That is a residual belief from the Old Testament notion that death was an entry into Sheol, the underworld, the place of shadow. Okay, let's continue. Let me take it from verse 26. After my skin has been thus destroyed, then from my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see on my side, and my eyes shall behold and not another. My heart faints within me. If you say, how we will pursue him, and the root of the matter is found in him. That's where the source of the problem is. It's in him. Be afraid of the sword, for wrath brings the punishment of the sword, that you may know there is a judgment. He's saying, be very careful what you do, because I am innocent, and it will be shown to be true. Do not go too far. Chapter 20. Then Zophar the Naamathite answered, therefore my thoughts answer me, because of my haste within me. I hear censure, which insults me, and out of my understanding a spirit answers me. Do you not know this from old, since man was placed upon the earth? Now here he goes again. Once again, he's bearing down on this, what happens to the wicked. And throughout the rest of this chapter, okay, right on down to the end of verse 29. I'm just going to read right through it and emphasize that as he emphasizes it. Verse 5, that the exulting of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless but for a moment. Though his height mount up to the heavens and his head reach to the clouds, he will perish forever like his own dung. Those who have seen him will say, where is he? He will fly away like a dream and not be found. He will be chased away like a vision of the night. The eye which saw him will see him no more, nor will his place any more behold him. His children will seek the favor of the poor, and his hands will give back his wealth. His bones are full of youthful vigor, but it will lie down with him in the dust. There are two elements here. One is that this is what we want to happen to the wicked, and therefore this was the understanding of the lot of the wicked. And in fact, because God is just, and because of his final judgment, we know that will be the lot of the wicked, so to speak, if they don't repent, okay? But their point here is that your suffering is because you are wicked. And that is their unremitting, maintained point that they will not back away from, but it's going to be shattered. Verse 12, though wickedness is sweet in his mouth, though he hides it under his tongue, though he is loath to let it go and holds it in his mouth, yet his food is turned in his stomach. It is the gall of asps within him. He swallows down riches and vomits them up. God casts them out of his belly. He will suck the poison of asps. The tongue of a viper will kill him. He will not look upon the rivers, the streams flowing with honey and curds. This is you, Job. Remember, he's directing all of this at Job. You've got to admit this. You've got to repent. He will give back the fruit of his toil and will not swallow it down from the profit of his trading. He will get no enjoyment, for he has crushed and abandoned the poor. He has seized a house which he did not build. Now, this is an outright slander against Job. Everyone who knows Job, that Job is not guilty of this, no matter what else he has done. He's not guilty of this, because these things are done in public. You can see when these kinds of things are done, okay? And everyone knows that Job is not guilty of such a vile act as this: crushed and abandoned the poor, seized a house which he did not build, okay? Let's keep going. Because his greed knew no rest, and he will not save anything in which he delights. There was nothing left after he had eaten. Therefore his prosperity will not endure. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he will be in straits. All the force of misery will come upon him. To fill his belly to the full, God will send his fierce anger into him and rain it upon him as his food. He will flee from an iron weapon. A bronze arrow will strike him through. It is drawn forth and comes out of his body. The glittering point comes out of his gall. Terrors come upon him. Utter darkness is laid up for his treasures. A fire not blown upon will devour him. Even a small flame, you see, a fire that is not encouraged with increasing its oxygen supply so that the flames well up and begin to get hotter and hotter. Even a small fire will consume him. What is left in his tent will be consumed. The heavens will reveal his iniquity, and the earth will rise up against him. The possessions of his house will be carried away, dragged off in the day of God's wrath. This is the wicked man's portion from God, the heritage decreed for him by God. Now, so Zophar's got to back off now. I have to take a breath. I know Zophar did. And we're going to see that this entire dialogue, quadrilogue, however you want to phrase it, the discussion of Job, the argument of Job, the oration of Job with his interlocutors, must take place over some time, not just happening in a single afternoon or a single day even, because of indications in the story, which we will see. Now, then Job answered, "Listen carefully to my words, and let this be your consolation. Bear with me, and I will speak. And after I have spoken, mock on. Mock on if you can, is the implication here. As for me, is my complaint against man? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be appalled, and lay your hand upon your mouth. When I think of it, I am dismayed, and shuddering seize my flesh." See, the light has begun to dawn on Job himself. He is now beginning to see that he has been wrong in his supposition about the causative effect between suffering resulting from evil because of punishment by God. Because he knows that he's done nothing, and he's defended himself before God in the court. He called upon God to stand up and explain why he was treating him this way when God himself knew that he was innocent. He's beginning to see. Verse 8. Verse 7. Why do the wicked live? Why do the wicked prosper? Why do the wicked live, reach old age, and grow mighty in power? This stuff doesn't happen to them the way you say it does. Their children are established in their presence, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, and no rod of God is upon them. Their bull breeds without fail. Their cow calves and does not cast her calf. They send forth their little ones like a flock. Their children, they have abundant children. They go forth like a flock of sheep, like a flock of goats, and their children dance. Oh, da, 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 da. So happy, everything's nice, wonderful. They sing to the tambourine and the lyre and rejoice to the sound of the pipe. They spend their days in prosperity, and in peace they go down to Sheol. You can see this. Everyone can see this. Why are you saying the opposite to me? They say to God, "Depart from us. We do not desire the knowledge of thy ways. What is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what profit do we get if we pray to him? Behold, is not their prosperity in their hands? The counsel of the wicked is far from me." How often is it that the lamp of the wicked is put out? That their calamity comes upon them? That God distributes pains in his anger? That they are like straw before the wind, as he has described himself many times before now, like a leaf, a dried leaf blown in the wind, like a piece of chaff just tossed here and there. How often that they are like straw before the wind, and like chaff the storm carries away. You say, God stores up their iniquity for their sons. Let him recompense it to themselves, that they may know it. Let their own eyes see their destruction, and let them drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what do they care for their houses after them when the number of their months is cut off? They've lived fat lives their whole lives. They've been rich. They've had everything come to their own advantage. What do they care what happens to their sons, their family, their wealth after they die? They're not there. Will any teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those that are on high? One dies in full prosperity, being wholly at ease and secure, his body full of fat, and the marrow of his bones moist. Another dies in bitterness of soul, never having tasted of good. They lie down alike in the dust, and the worms cover them. They have the same end. There's no punishment for them. May or may not be. What's the rationale for it? Behold, I know your thoughts and your schemes to wrong me. For you say, where is the house of the prince? Where is the tent in which the wicked dwelt? Have you not asked those who travel the roads? Are you not paying attention to what even others who see these things can tell you? You see, is the idea here? Have you not asked those who travel the roads, and do you not accept their testimony? That the wicked man is spared in the day of calamity, that he is rescued in the day of wrath? Who declares his way to his face, and who requites him for what he has done? When he is borne to the grave, watch is kept over his tomb. The clouds of the valley are sweet to him. All men follow after him, and those who go before him are innumerable. How then will you comfort me with empty nothings? There is nothing left of your answers but falsehood. Now, we've been talking about swinging for the heads, going for the heavy body blows. This is a major blow, and this shakes them to their foundations, even as it, you can be sure, has shaken Job to come to this realization that there really is no causative link between that is immutable, as you, my friends, are maintaining to me, and as I myself, when I was not suffering, when I was healthy and happy and comfortable, also believed as an easy way of understanding the nature of the world, the nature of good and evil and so forth. This has shaken them. This has really shaken them. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered, can a man be profitable to God? Surely he who is wise is profitable to himself. Is it any pleasure to the Almighty if you are righteous, or is it gain to him if you make your ways blameless? This is the exact opposite of what he has been saying. He has been saying that if you would do this, this punishment would stop. Is it any pleasure to the Almighty if you are righteous, or is it gain to him if you make your ways blameless? Well, of course, it doesn't help God whether you are good or evil. But to ask, is it any pleasure to the Almighty whether you are righteous? That is a piece of hyperbole that anyone who believes at all in the goodness of God knows that it gives him pleasure to behold the righteous man. The readers of the book, of the tale here, are told that from the very beginning. Have you considered my servant Job? A good man, righteous, who fears God and shuns evil. Behold, this is my beloved son. Hear ye him, in whom I am well pleased. Hear you him. See, that God does take pleasure in that. So this is hyperbole. Eliphaz is tapping in the dark now. He's been undercut. His arguments have been undercut. Is it for your fear of him that he reproves you? He's acknowledging Job's fear of God. Is it because of your fear of him that he reproves you and enters into judgment with you? Is not your wickedness great? He goes back to this. There is no end to your iniquities. That's a charge. For you, see, and here's more slander. Everyone knows that this is not true of Job. He's grasping at straws here. For you have exacted pledges of your brothers for nothing, and stripped the naked of their clothing. You have given no water to the weary to drink, and you have withheld bread from the hungry. This is just absolute rubbish. Everybody who knows Job knows that this is not true. This is slander. Job knows that he's talking rubbish. Eliphaz knows that he's talking rubbish, and that he's slandering a man that he loves. You have withheld bread from the hungry. The man with power possessed the land, and the favored man dwelt in it. You have sent widows away empty, and the arms of the fatherless were crushed. Job will defend himself against these statements later. Therefore snares are round about you, and sudden terror overwhelms you. Your light is darkened so that you cannot see, and a flood of water covers you. Is not God high in the heavens? See the highest stars, how lofty they are. Therefore you say, what does God know? Can he judge through the deep darkness? Thick clouds enwrap him so that he does not see, and he walks on the vault of heaven. Will you keep to the old way which wicked men have trod? They were snatched away before their time. Their foundation was washed away. They said to God, depart from us. What can the Almighty do to us? Yet he filled their houses with good things. He's acknowledging what Job has just said. This is the opposite of what he's been maintaining, that the wicked lose these things because of their wickedness. Right here, he's saying the opposite of what he was saying before. They said to God, depart from us. Yet he filled their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see it and are glad. The innocent laugh them to scorn, saying, surely our adversaries are cut off, and what they left the fire has consumed. Agree with God and be at peace. Therefore good will come to you. Receive instruction from his mouth and lay up his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, now back of the ground that he's familiar with. If you return to the Almighty and humble yourself, if you remove unrighteousness far from your tents, if you lay gold in the dust and gold of Ophir among the stones of the torrent bed, and if the Almighty is your gold and your precious silver, then you will delight yourself in the Almighty and lift up your face to God. You will make your prayer to him, and he will hear you. And you will pay your vows. You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you, and light will shine on your ways. For God abases the proud, but he saves the lowly. He delivers the innocent man. You will be delivered through the cleanness of your hands. Then Job answered, today also my complaint is bitter. Now this is an indication that we have a new day here. That, the previous day has come to an end, or period, whatever it is, has come to an end, that there's been some kind of break, and then they start over again. Then Job answered, today also, again today, my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy in spite of my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his seat, I would lay my case before him. See, he took him, so to speak, to court earlier. We saw that, chapters 13, 14. But he didn't really see God. He didn't get a response from God, okay? God didn't show up, so to speak. God didn't answer the summons. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his seat. I would lay my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn what he would answer and understand what he would say to me. Again, this very bold assertion that I have only to make my case before God. And when he first said that back earlier in the book, you can imagine his friend, wait a minute, you're guilty. Of course, they're assuming he's guilty. And you want to stand before God and defend yourself? This is, nobody would do that. And Job says, this will be my defense, that a godless man will not come before God. He said, no one who is truly evil will do that. Certainly not of his own accord. He's not going to challenge God to stand up and explain the charges against him. Okay? A godless man will not come before him. Now he's saying it again. I would learn what he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Verse 6, would he contend with me in the greatness of his power? No, he would give heed to me. There, an upright man could reason with him, and I should be acquitted forever by my judge. If I could make my case and he was there, I would be acquitted. This is steadfastness. This is integrity. Okay, this is holding on to the truth. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there. I go this way, he's not there. And backward, but I cannot see him. Everywhere I go, I look for him. To the right, to the left. On the left hand, I seek him, but I cannot behold him. I turn to the right hand, but I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. I'm going to come out of this pure. He's saying again, my value will be established. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have kept his way and have not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have treasured in my bosom the words of his mouth. But he is unchangeable, and who can turn him? What he desires, that he does. For he will complete what he appoints for me, and many such things are in his mind. I don't know why he's doing this, but it's in his hands. Therefore, I am terrified at his presence. I want to see him. I want to stand before him. I want to make my case, but it's a terrible thing. I am terrified at his presence. When I consider, I am in dread of him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. For I am hemmed in by darkness, and thick darkness covers my face. I cannot see my way. But I have never departed from him. He continues, chapter 24. Why are not the times of judgment kept by the Almighty, and why do those who know him never see his days? He doesn't understand, you see. He's bewildered by this. He's abandoned his old belief that ordeal, suffering, troubles come from punishment by God for evil. He's abandoned that. He's destroyed that case for his friends. But he still is bewildered. He doesn't understand. And then for the rest of the chapter, he talks about what the wicked do. This is what they do. Men remove landmarks. They seize flocks and pasture them. They drive away the ass of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox for the pledge. They thrust the poor off the road. The poor of the earth all hide themselves. Behold, like wild asses in the desert, they go forth to their toil, seeking prey in the wilderness as food for their children. These are the poor now. He's talking about the poor when they're thrust off the road. They're seeking food for their children wherever they can find it. Verse 6, they gather their fodder in the field, and they glean the vineyard of the wicked man. They lie. They have to do that because he gives them no food, the wicked man. They lie all night naked, without clothing, and have no covering in the cold. These are the things he doesn't understand. Why does this happen? They are wet with the rain of the mountains and cling to the rock for want of shelter. There are those who snatch the fatherless child from the breast and take in pledge the infant of the poor. Again, the poor. They go about naked without clothing, hungry. They carry the sheaves among the olive rows of the wicked. They make oil. They tread the wine presses, but suffer thirst. They do all this work and labor. This is hard work. And what do they have? From out of the city, the dying groan, and the soul of the wounded cries for help. Yet God pays no attention to their prayer. We ask the same question. Why do these things happen? We see this, what he's just described here. We see this. Everyone throughout the ages has seen this. Why do good suffer? Why do the wicked prosper? He's bewildered. His worldview has been shattered by his own recognition that this has happened to him despite his innocence. He has made his case. He's destroyed and undermined the argument of his friends who held the same view as he did. And he does not understand, though. Yet God pays no attention to their prayer. There are those who rebel against the light, who are not acquainted with its ways, and who do not stay in its paths. The murderer rises in the dark, that he may kill the poor and needy, and in the night he is as a thief. The eye of the adulterer also waits for the twilight, saying, no eye will see me. And he disguises his face in the dark. They dig through the houses. So you have the rebel, the murderer, the adulterer. In the dark they dig through houses. By day they shut themselves up. They do not know the light. For deep darkness is morning to all of them. For they are friends with the terrors of deep darkness. You say, they are swiftly carried away upon the face of the waters. Their portion is cursed in the land. No treader turns toward their vineyards. Drought and heat snatch away the snow waters. So does Sheol those who have sinned. The squares of the town forget them. Their name is no longer remembered. So wickedness is broken like its tree. That's what you say, friends of mine. They feed on the barren childless woman and do no good to the widow. Yet God prolongs the life of the mighty by his power. They rise up when they despair of life. He gives them security, and they are supported, and his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted a little while and then are gone. They wither and fade like the mallow. This is a type of squash. They are cut off like the heads of grain. If it is not so, who will prove me a liar and show me that there is nothing in what I say? Go ahead. Prove to me that what I say is not true. You can't, because you know it's true. And no one has answered that question, he's saying. I don't understand it. I am bewildered. I know that I have nothing to deserve this, but I don't know why these things happen. Okay, we'll have to stop there. And next week we will start with a very short response by Bildad the Shuhite, because his friends are done. I mean, they've been defeated. And then we're going to have a long soliloquy by Job until Elihu the Buzite shows up. We've got several chapters where Job is just pouring forth. And then Elihu in chapter 34 comes on the scene from nowhere and we'll explain that, or we'll talk about it anyway. Not explain it necessarily, but where he comes from, why. But any comments or questions at this point? Oxford.
People don't understand many times when you're in excruciating pain, you don't have a filter. You will say not necessarily evil things, but things that you would have normally not said. Yeah. Job is actually arguing with God. That pain has forced him to come to his God and say, if I be wrong, tell me and I will accept it. He didn't know that there was a conversation like you brought up. Have you considered my servant Job? If he would have known that conversation, he would say, bring it on, Satan. Yeah. But that was not given. He was not given that opportunity whatsoever. And he said, if I be wrong, you've got an obligation to tell me this. You know, because his false friends right there, you can't point a finger to what I've done wrong. If you could, why haven't you told me? And they're kind of bewildered too. They don't understand, so they're saying, must be some kind of secret sin, kind of like the blind man. Who sinned? This man or his parents, stuff like that. So he's got to have a secret sin. But the thing is, we as Christians, sometimes we argue with God. And we know many times when we are faithful and trying our best, but then we have to lay back and say, maybe God is testing me. What kind of report will God give about me? He stood up. He actually is a good man. She's a good woman. But we cannot control what happens in this world. We're limited. We have limited power, but we got God.
Of the characters that go through these titanic struggles in the Bible, we think immediately of Jesus himself, his temptation in the wilderness, 40 days, 40 nights without food or water. Of course, that was miraculous in itself. But in that weakened state, then, the devil comes to him and offers him everything in the world.
And Elihu is going to be the only one that's going to almost put it in a nutshell. That's way later.
And then we think of Paul, we think of Ananias, what the Lord tells him, I want you to go to Paul. And Ananias is in a dream, Lord, I have heard of this man, how much evil he has done to your saints. And he says, I have chosen him. I will show him how much he must suffer for my sake. So Jesus, and then in the garden, at the end of his ministry, Jesus, Paul, all the other characters of the Bible know that they're fighting a battle for God.
But Paul knew it was Satan. Job didn't.
Job did not.
So Paul had the upper hand.
Job is the only one of these with this kind of titanic struggle who does not know that he is God's champion. He has no idea. He's fighting, he's holding on to the knowledge that he has served God and done right by him as best he could. He does not know that he's in this because of that, because he is a righteous man who has served God, feared God, and shuns evil. And the main character, get the mic, Ron, if you would. Actually, could you pass the mic up?
Yeah.
I was just going to say that's part of the temptation that came upon Job. That's part of the temptation that God gave Satan to tempt Job with, is not telling him. Because that was a huge temptation,
Well,
as we just read.
Yeah, I mean, don't put it down yet. Someone else might have to. We don't know how different, if any different behavior at all Job would have exhibited if he had known. He certainly would have gone on his knees praying for God to let this cup pass from me, as Jesus did, who knew a long time before he was there that this was waiting for him. Anyone else? Ken, did you have something? Any other comments? Okay, thank you very much. Be back here next week, and we will begin on chapter 25, for Bildad's short reply, and then Job's long soliloquy.